The Clippers have finally gotten healthy, and after winning 6 of 7 games, had a real test in Milwaukee. The Bucks are struggling with injuries of their own, leaving Giannis Antetokounmpo to put the team on his back and do a lot of everything. And that's exactly what he did last night, scoring 54 hard-earned points, overcoming 2 20-point deficits, and suddenly elevating himself into the conversation for MVP. Usually when a player fills it up for over 50, they start out hot and keep the pedal to the metal, but Giannis struggled mightily out of the gate. The Clippers opted to put their big man Ivica Zubac on him and dare him to take as many outside shots as he liked. Just look at the disrespect with the Ben Simmons sag. That's over 10 feet of space, people. And even when he tried to take off down the runway, the big body of Zubac proved to be a good deterrent. While Zubac defended Giannis the majority of the time, here's how his scoring broke down between defenders. And while I totally get why Clippers coach Ty Lue didn't want to tire out Kawhi Leonard any more than he had to, I suspect in hindsight he would have liked to have gotten a few more possessions of defense out of him. After the first few minutes of struggle, Giannis started to figure some things out. Mainly that if you give him too much of a runway and he attacks early enough, Zubac won't be able to cut off the angle and the help won't have time to rotate over. With this much speed generated and his ability to extend his last step and cover about 12 feet with one bound, he started getting to the basket with ease. They even went to him down low in the post, where he's been, well, not good at all this year. But with these kind of height mismatches and no doubling by the defense, he shows off a couple of nice spin moves to the baseline. And just a quick note about this aspect of his game that needs to get better if they want to go deep in the playoffs. 43 players have posted up at least 50 times this season, and Giannis ranks 40th in points per possession. If you want to know why the Clippers were able to build a couple of 20-point leads throughout this game, you need only look at the minutes when Brook Lopez was out on the floor. It's rare to see one player involved in as many buckets as Lopez was last night, and the Clippers were merciless in getting it in the pick and roll. With Bobby Portis out, Mike Budenholzer probably felt like he had no other choice. But Ty Lue simply went ultra small ball and caught Lopez over and over again, dropping in that pick and roll, not quick enough to recover, and ineffective with his contests of shots. The only solution I could think of was to play Middleton at center, but he's on a minutes restriction, so for Bud, I'm sure Portis' MCL sprain can't heal fast enough. Because Giannis is almost impossible to stop near the basket, he will always have a huge cushion from his defender, allowing him to operate with a lot less ball pressure than most other superstars. Defending him like this allows the other defenders to stay with their men, limiting Giannis' ability to set up teammates, but running the very real risk of letting him detonate. I mean, if you're going to let him have complete practice shots from behind the arc, even if he's only shooting 27% from back there, he's going to burn you on a couple. To fully appreciate how much space the Clippers were giving him, you needed to be at the game in person, and the best way to get tickets is by downloading SeatGeek, the best app to find tickets to any sporting event, concert, or the theater. With just a few taps, SeatGeek will scour the internet for the best deals out there, giving them a grade so you know what kind of value you're getting. They're rated #1 on Trustpilot amongst all major ticketers, so you can feel secure that your tickets are legit. Best of all, you can save $20 off your first purchase by using my code BBALL. So head over to SeatGeek now and you can enjoy all your favorite NBA teams live and in person, so you can appreciate how much work Zubac was doing to make life difficult for Giannis, but his go-to Euro step around the big man gets him an off-foot finger roll soft off the glass to cut the lead to 7. Giannis has a lot of traditional 1990s big man in his game, where he sets the ball screen for Middleton, rolls to the basket, and allows Middleton to shoot a carefree shot since Middleton knows this can be the result if he misses. Is this a loose ball foul? Probably, but the refs allow the players to be physical with each other all night. Again, Giannis doesn't even look at the hoop as he patiently waits to set something up. Zubac is playing exactly the way the Clippers coaches want him to, and Giannis has an interesting pattern of glancing down when he wants to gather the ball, then snapping his head back up to find the rim with his eyes. His legs wiggle on the way up, there's a bit of a hitch to his release, but since he was given so much space from the free throw line, this isn't a hard shot to make. As the ball reverses, Zubac gets a little closer to prevent such a big runway, but Giannis uses his left leg to winch him off the spot and hits a tough finger roll over a tough contest. Notice how the Clippers were simply not going to rotate to help. When Jrue Holiday was forced to switch onto Powell on the right wing, all was well until he foolishly wanders down into the paint despite a double team on Kawhi already. The easy pass and wide open shot seemed to calm the Clippers down and gave them some momentum to control the rest of the game, which is precisely why this shot from Giannis might have been the most important one all night. Notice how he gets his eyes on the rim before he gathers the ball. This avoids that head snap during the release. His rhythm is pretty good, and let's face it, this is a practice shot without any pressure. In a make or miss league, this make lets the Clippers know the Bucks aren't going anywhere. Yet, they were still down 6 with under 4 to go, and out of horns, the Bucks twist back to Giannis spotting up on the right wing. Had Zubac not reached in here, this would have been great defense, but Giannis isn't fazed by the contact and hits the and one. If you're wondering if this was a travel, it's not. In the NBA, the foot that is on the ground when the dribble ends is the gather step or zero step. You get 2 full steps after this point, which is all he uses to get into his jump and the finish. Don't be confused and think you should count steps after the last bounce off the floor, and this rule exists both here and in FIBA. Crucially, he hits the free throw, which has been an adventure for him this season as he's at his second lowest free throw percentage of his career. The Clippers show him 2 defenders, which explains why he didn't try to overpower Zubac with all the runway, so the Bucks offense resets. Nothing much going on except exploiting the defensive sag, and while this jumper does have some issues with rhythm and head snap, when he's this open from this close, he can knock these down when he needs to. The Clippers didn't help themselves at all, missing their last 8 shots of the game, and one reason is that the Bucks' defensive intensity picked up considerably, requiring LA to utilize solid offensive actions to gain advantages to attack. But that didn't happen as they became passive against the pressure, settling for poor decisions on these 3-point shots, yikes, and then props to Jrue Holiday for celebrating his All-Star selection by D'ing up on Kawhi and harassing him into a pair of bad misses. The second one we'll see in a minute. One thing Lou didn't do was try putting Giannis on the line. This intentional foul was too little too late, but we do see Giannis getting into his free throw routine. However, the refs don't let him take his customary 5 seconds standing at the line without the ball, visualizing the shot. And as a result, he takes over 10 seconds to release this shot, clanking it hard off the front rim, only to have him take slightly more than 10 seconds to shoot the ball after receiving it, which is technically against the rules, getting the exact same result, allowing the Clippers to maintain their slim 1-point lead. The Clippers didn't adjust their defense on Giannis despite the incredible amount of points he was putting up, and more importantly, how those points shrunk the lead so profoundly. There isn't much you can do to avoid fouling when giving him this much room, and this time, despite taking 11 seconds in the first and slightly more than 10 seconds in the second, Giannis calmly sinks both free throws, showing he can be clutch if teams want to try the hack a Giannis method, and it just felt like once the Bucks got the lead, they weren't going to lose it at home. Giannis didn't score again in the game, with Kawhi stripping the ball like the cagey veteran that he is, helping Giannis miss that layup, and then tying him up on the putback with his claw-like hands. Check the difference in defensive position with Kawhi on him, and I don't know what Jrue is doing here and why Matthews wants to cut there and clog the lane too, so Giannis doesn't have much choice but to try a contested turnaround. After Paul George's embarrassing airball from 3, he makes up for it in a huge way by stealing the poorly executed bounce pass from Holiday. But after a timeout in which Ty Lue had plenty of time to get everyone on the same page and draw up something good, they royally screw it up. Reggie wants to cut off a PG screen, but George runs away, so maybe that was all misdirection as they set the screen for Kawhi to receive the ball. Morris is clearly supposed to set a pin down for PG in the corner, who would then get the handoff from Kawhi. That falls apart, and Kawhi tries his own turnaround jumper from the free throw line under duress. But Giannis is so clearly afraid to get put back on the line that he just throws the ball out of bounds. Blame Connaughton even more for this, as he should have realized what was happening and stayed back to give a better angle for the pass. With no timeouts left, Lue has to hope his team can figure something out, and while Kawhi has flashes of his old brilliant self and is still a terrific player, he's not going to beat a good defender off the dribble. And credit Connaughton for realizing there wasn't enough time for him to make a pass, so he doubles, and the shot isn't even close. There is no question that Giannis is the most dominant player in the NBA. Hardly anyone can match up with his size and quickness, and despite being guarded like he was, he still figured out how to make an impact and score half his team's points. The post-ups are still an issue, the free throws potentially even more so, but when they're fully healthy, no one is going to want to play these guys in the playoffs, and I suspect the only way they're getting knocked out is if they don't have home court advantage.